Back here in Tszyu Castle, the news is that Tszyu is going to return to his spiritual home, and off the back of those two defeats in the United States last year, he's coming back to Newcastle, and there are no easy fights. Instead of taking a warm-up fight into this section of his professional boxing career, Tszyu is going to take on a fighter known as the small-town soldier from Michigan in the United States, the 19-1 Joey Spencer. So that is your headline act for a big fight card that will take place on a Sunday here in Australia, the 6th of April, beamed back live into the United States on the Saturday night, the 5th, and all, of course, here in Australia on Main Event Television. Ben Damon is my name. Really pleased to be back here in Newcastle ahead of another big show brought to you by No Limit Boxing Promotions. An exciting undercard as well. All the details will be released tomorrow, but we can reveal a few aspects of that undercard here today, and you'll see a couple of those fighters at the stage. Up the front here, Colin Mazudia will be involved in a very entertaining fight against Dan Hill, and the Bull, Brandon Grach, returns with his opponent to be named in the next couple of days. We'll talk to those fighters and to Tszyu. We'll also hear from Joey Spencer in the United States as well. But first of all, let's talk to the promoter of this event, George Rose. George, welcome back to Newcastle. Great to be back here each and every time, isn't it?
Ben, it is absolutely outstanding to be back here in Newcastle. We're returning to Tszyu Castle for a massive fight, and I can't be more excited. It feels like it has been a long time since we've been here, but it only feels like yesterday that we were here, because every time we come here, the crowd turns it on, the fights deliver, and we have a great time here in Tszyu Castle. And
you just don't learn any lessons, George Rose. What on earth are we doing here announcing that Tszyu, in what is essentially a comeback fight, is taking on 19-1 American Joey Spencer? Surely this is a warm-up fight or something of that ilk. Instead, you're throwing him in tough again.
Look, a lot of people in their comeback fights, coming back from a loss, would choose a dud opponent, would choose somebody that they're going to walk through. I put a lot of options to Tim, and I wanted him to take an easy fight to get back in the winner's circle, but for him, he does not want easy fights. He's made it clear, he's said it loud and proud time and time again that he does not want easy fights, he wants hard fights. This guy is a two-time PBC Prospect of the Year, a guy who's only got one little blemish on his career, and a guy who absolutely wants to light up this division and sees this as a huge opportunity for himself. Tim wants this fight though. Tim is a guy who wants hard fights every time, and it kills me when he does it. I'd love to have an easy fight where we can just walk in and, you know, he wipes them out. He probably still will do it anyway, but I'd love to have that thought going into it, not going into a fight where I know that he's fighting against a guy who's an absolute killer.
There were other options though. What happened when you discussed those other options with Tim and with his team?
He said no. It was clear. He said no. He said, I want hard fights. I want to get back to the top. He believes he's the best in the division. I believe he's still the best in the division, and I know that he will be back at the top. I absolutely know that. And to do that, you know, he needs to get back in the winner's circle. Like I said, I'd love it to be against a really dud opponent that we could walk through. This guy is a guy who can be at the top of the division, and Tim's putting himself in against that, and that's what he wanted. He wanted the hard fight. He wanted to push himself again. He wants to test himself. He's a guy who takes challenges like no other fighter across the globe. People don't take these sort of fights when you're coming back looking to get back in the winner's circle. Tszyu does. Tszyu's built different. He's a guy who wants to take on absolutely everyone.
Now, we're going to hear from Joey Spencer very, very shortly, but tell us what the Americans at PBC and elsewhere were telling you about this guy when he was put forward as a potential opponent. We know that he was initially going to get the opportunity to fight against Sebastian Fundora for those belts that he has, but instead he's ended up out here in Australia. What do they say about Spencer, the 24-year-old?
Yeah, well, look, he's a guy that's already being touted to fight for world titles. That's how highly they regard him. They regard him as one of the best in the division. They're a guy that they would have loved to see Tim fight down the track when they're fighting for world titles. It's a world title caliber fight. But Tszyu's taking it now for no world title, just to get back in the winner's circle, to make sure that everybody knows that he's someone who takes tough fights, that gets in against the best across the globe, and shows everybody that he is still the man in this division.
Tszyu sitting alongside you there, you know him well, you've spent the majority of his career as his promoter. What version of Tszyu are we going to see on April 6th and going forward, do you think?
He looks amazing. He looks absolutely outstanding at the moment. Not that he ever does look bad, but he's a guy who's locked in and focused. I've got so much respect for Tim as a fighter and as a person, and what he does in preparing himself for his craft is it's second to none. He's ready to go. I'm excited that he's back in the ring, though. For me, Tszyu fights in Australia, they're the fights that you want to be at. They're the ones that get people turning up, that get people excited. There's only a handful of big Australian sporting events that you've got to be a part of. You've got your Melbourne Cups, your Everest in horse racing, you've got the State of Origin in rugby league. A Tszyu fight in boxing is a sports event that you need to be a part of, that you need to see, because not only does Tim deliver, not only does he bring the crowds out, but everybody on the card turns up and puts on an absolute stellar performance. You always get a great night of fights on a Tszyu card, but the buzz leading up to it as well. The feeling that's going to be here in Newcastle leading up to this fight, there will be no other like it.
Yeah, talk to us about the undercard before we move on and talk to some of these fighters. Clearly we know Colin Mazzutia down the end of the table will be fighting against Dan Hill. That is an outstanding all-action fight. The Bull, Brandon Grach, returns, and we're going to announce the full undercard, I believe, tomorrow, but I can also announce Callum Peters, the Olympian, is going to be a part of the show here in Newcastle as well. Before we reveal everything, what are you excited about?
Well, you're giving a fair bit of it away there already, Ben, but there's some great fights. You've just rattled off some really good ones. Colin Mazzutia, never in a boring fight. Last year, in the fight of the year. Brandon Grach was in the fight of the year before that. He's also had knockout of the year here in Newcastle. When you've got guys that are representing in their hometown, Brandon Grach is coming back after a long layoff with injury. He's getting a fight here in his hometown and a chance to show everybody what he can do, remind everybody what he can do, because there's a lot of guys out there in the heavyweight division who seem to have forgot about Brandon Grach and what he can do. So he'll be storming through them ranks again here, and he gets to do it here in Newcastle. We'll have a lot of Newcastle talent on the card, so plenty of guys representing their hometown who will put on a fantastic performance. Callum Peters is the most exciting prospect that has come out of the Olympics in years. He's a guy that's going to put on an absolute show. We saw what he had to offer in his debut last year, and he's only going to get better with every performance. He's got a lot of personality, a very exciting fighter. He's a guy that you want to watch and be a part of. But this fight for the Australian title between Colin Mazzutia and Dan Hill, that'll be an absolute cracker as well. Two guys who have never been in a boring fight. They'll get in there, they'll get amongst it. It's one that you'll want to see.
George, of course, this event will take place on April 6 at the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, but here today we're at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle. Feels like a good venue for a stadium fight at some point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We're giving you the entree on April 6. We'll be back here eventually. I know Glenn Jennings will be absolutely pushing for us to get back here to Newcastle. This is a fantastic venue, but April 6 you'll get the entree here at the Zoocastle Entertainment Centre. We're returning to the Zoocastle Entertainment Centre on April 6th, so it's going to be a fantastic fight. Tickets are all on sale now, so if you haven't already jumped online, ticketek.com.au, everybody's getting on there already. Get on, get amongst it. It's going to be a great fight night. It always is when we come to Zoocastle.
Thanks so much, George. Got us excited about this big card on April 6th. Now let's talk to some of those fighters. Today, the former world champion, Tszyu. Tim, welcome back to Zoocastle. There could be no better place, I'm sure, to begin this all-important phase of your career.
Yeah, well, coming back home, it's a good feeling, and I was pushing Newcastle for the fact that we've had some great memories with the family, and I'm glad to be back home.
Tell us about the conversations that took place to arrive at this opponent, Joey Spencer, for this fight. We've heard what the promoter George Rose thinks. Plenty think that this is a difficult fight for and essentially a comeback fight. But why did you want this fight and now?
Look, you're in this sport to test yourself at all times. So I wanted a tough challenge. I've been following Joey Spencer for quite a bit. I remember we fought on the same undercard down in Minnesota. So that's when I first saw him. And when the fight got offered, it was a no-brainer for me. I knew that I didn't want to take the long road to get back to the top, and the shorter it is, the harder the opponents are. And I knew by taking Joe Spencer this early, at this time, you're going to go straight back into where you belong.
What version of you do we see in this fight in Newcastle after what we saw in Orlando, what we saw in Las Vegas, and now a new year? Is it a new you?
I hope. New year, new me. I hope. Just more calculated. I got another 6 weeks to go, so hopefully we put in the work, be smart, and then come out like a dog. too early.
We know that he's training hard. I'm sure you'd be interested to know he's getting out here a month earlier for this fight. He's already on the time zone, so he's going to bed at 5 in the morning. So clearly he's someone who's very professional and taking this very seriously.
Yeah, we're both taking it seriously. You know, he's coming in as if it's a world title. For me, this is the biggest fight of my career. This distinguishes where I come back and where my road will go. So no days off. It's a hard grind.
All right, let's hear from Joey Spencer, who's recorded a message for us. He is from Linden in Michigan. He's known as the small town soldier, and this is the 19-1, 24-year-old Joey Spencer.
I think this fight is very important for my career. Just being on the stage that it is, Tszyu having the name that he has. A lot of people are going to be tuning in and watching this fight to see if Tim can bounce back. I believe that I'm going to be an underdog in this fight. People are going to take this as, and I'm sure Tim is taking this as a comeback fight, that he's going to come in and be able to get his career back on track. But when I come in and do what I need to do to get this win, I'm definitely going to be on the map in a way that I haven't been up to this point, and I'm really excited for that. I'm excited to get big fights after this, and I feel like it's going to open the door for me to fight bigger fights and the ultimate goal, which is winning the title. This one, I got to be honest, I want this one a little bit more than I think I've ever wanted to fight before. I really want to win this one. We're taking every part of our preparation extremely serious. I believe I beat him because I believe I'm a superior boxer. In all facets, I believe that I'm the better fighter. As far as his weaknesses go, I feel like he's got a warrior spirit. It can turn into a weakness. It can also be a strength. Just depends on how it's being used. But I believe I win the fight because I'm superior as a fighter, and I believe that my preparation is going to be better. I believe I'm going to come in with the better game plan, and I believe that he's not going to be able to deal with what we prepare in this training camp. So if I touch his chin right, do I believe that I can put him away? Absolutely. I'm coming to take him out, whether it's a decision, a stoppage, or a knockout. So I'm coming to win this fight. And a knockout is always fun, but I don't necessarily think that just because he was knocked out in his last fight, I'll have an easier time knocking him out, or it gives me more belief that I'll be able to knock him out. I'm taking this fight and going into it the same way that I go into every other fight, which is letting the game plan play out and fighting my fight, and if the knockout comes, it comes.
So that is Joey Spencer. I'm coming to take him out, he says. Your response to everything you just saw, Tim?
Yeah, this is that was a good clip actually. A good little motivation for me. Lucky I didn't miss my morning session this morning, so I'll be back in the gym doing the same thing that he wants to be doing to me. So I can't wait.
Does it fire you up knowing you've got an opponent who's clearly here for a fight? He's going to come towards.
Oh, look, every fighter at this caliber and this stage is like that. You know, like we give it our all. We don't have a second job. We only have one job, and we're on the same caliber. So, yeah, the motivation's there for me. 6 weeks to go. I can't wait to be punching on again.
Have you missed it?
Yes. First couple spars was a bit, as always, but yeah, now things are starting to flow. In another 6 weeks, hopefully, fingers crossed, we get everything on track.
And Tim, given the nature of your opponent here, do you sort of feel that you're only one fight away from being back in world title contention? Is that why you're fighting at this level in this fight? Yeah,
for sure. You know, I'd love to get the rematches as well with my previous two. It's my first time rewatching it back, and I realized I'm a bit too much of a dog at times, maybe too early. So things have to be a bit smarter, more methodical, and yeah, we'll be back.
So to be clear, you want a rematch with Fundora and Murtazaliev?
I want this fight first, Joey Spencer. I'm not overlooking it. Anyone, you know, this This is my world title fight for me right now. This is the most important. This is the only thing in my life right now, is this fight. That's it. There's nothing else. There's no more weddings, none of that stuff. It's just, it's just this.
Okay, thanks, Tszyu. We're going to go now to some questions from members of the media.
Yeah, Jay McAllister here. Tim, I'm wondering how you sort of deal with the pressure and the expectation that's placed upon you.
Good question. I just deal with it.
Good question. You happy with that answer, Jay?
Well, you know, you can strengthen your body, but do you have sort of any methods to deal with it, or
What's that?
do you have any methods that you use to deal with the pressure?
Block a lot of things out. I don't really pay attention to it, but somehow I deal with it, right? I'm in this position for a reason.
Thanks, Jay.
Timmy, mate, everyone has their opinion on why you started the last fight the way you did. Now that you've had time to look back at it, analyse it, why did you fight? Why did you start that fight the way you did?
Good question. Another good
Thank
question.
you. That's what I do for a job.
I just did. That's
So-
it. I just did. And what was I thinking that time? I don't know. But
Do you want us to stop this section, Tim?
I just
It's
did.
not working for you?
They're asking me questions and I'm answering them. The only way to answer them.
So how do you change it this time around?
Don't do what I did last time.
So how do you do that?
Just, I guess.
What do you have
I
to
don't
change?
know, man. We'll see. Maybe I'll do the same thing. Just hopefully not get knocked out. We'll see what happens on the night.
Thank you so much, Nick. Brendan Bradford, good luck.
Come on, another good question, yeah?
Hey Tim, how do you respond to sort of people saying that this is do or die? Is it win or bust with this one?
Every fight's do or die. Every fight's a must win, especially in this category. So yeah, that's how I see it. That's how I see every fight. So must win.
And what are you seeing of Joey Spencer, and how do you sort of feel like you match up with him?
He's slick. 9 times USA champion back in the amateur days, so he's got a good pedigree, good boxer. Again, it's going to be tough, but this is the level that we're at.
Tim, you're undefeated up until these last two fights. How does an experience like that sort of affect your confidence? Are you still as confident as you always were?
We shall see.
All right, thank you very much to the ladies and gentlemen of the media. Tim, we'll repeat the details. Newcastle Entertainment Centre is the venue. It is on a Sunday, the 6th of April, Tszyu against Joey Spencer. Tim, just a message to the people of Newcastle, to your boxing fans around Australia and those watching around the world ahead of this big event that we're going to see. What would you like to say to everyone who's following you and continues to follow you on this journey?
I'll be back. Simple.
All right, we can't wait to see Tszyu back in action with all of the details around a stacked undercard to be announced in coming days as well. The venue, as I mentioned, the Newcastle Entertainment Centre. It is Sunday the 6th of April. You can see it all, of course, on Main Event Television. Thanks so much for joining us at this official announcement press conference today. I'm Ben Damon, and I'll see you at the fights.